Bill Maher hated Christianity so much that he started to believe his own false claim about Jesus and the gospel. Bill Maher is a perfect example of someone who let their hatred suspend all their critical thinking. In this recent interview, Bill Maher will show you how far he will go to try to disprove Christianity. Take a look.
Most Christians, maybe you're one of them. You're Christian, right?
I am.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Would tell you that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were disciples of Jesus, the people who wrote the Gospels. And they were absolutely not.
No, that is a false statement. Most Christians do not believe all of the gospel writers were disciples of Jesus. Matthew and John were disciples of Jesus, but Luke was a companion of the Apostle Paul. Peter, who wrote the first gospel between 60 to 70 AD, was a companion of Peter. How do we know that? Well, in one of Peter's letter, he mentioned Mark in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 13. And Paul, the Apostle Paul, did the same thing. And how do we know who wrote the gospel? Well, the church fathers who were living during that time attest Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John wrote the gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But let's hear what else Bill Maher has to say. Take a look.
Did you think they were?
No, I mean, we know that those documents were based off an older document.
They came later.
Right, yeah.
Jesus died in 33, and the first gospel, Mark, the Gospel of Mark, is 70.
Right.
They were not contemporaries of his. They all had similar names, the disciples.
Right.
So it is a little confusing.
Right.
But I've talked to people who are real, serious Christians and scholars and all this stuff, and they, oh no, I don't think that's. I'm like, trust me, every scholar understands this. It's not an insult either. It's just that's just the fact.
I mean, the big.
They don't know their own religion. They haven't read the Bible. They talk about the Bible a lot. It's a long book. Some of it's boring.
But the problem that I have with most Christians today, and I talk about this openly a lot, is that it misses the point. I mean, you can get hung up in the weeds about document Q or whatever you want to talk about with where this stuff comes from. But the point is very simple. You've got somebody who claims to be the Messiah pointing the way towards a whole radically different new way to love. And that's through self-sacrificial care of your neighbor.
Very true.
And when you talk about just that, it's a really beautiful thing that a lot of other religions don't talk about, because you're talking about religions that talk about the way to salvation is through doing it over and over and over again and living a million lives, or finding your own self-elevation, through meditation or contemplation. But this is talking about admitting that we are flawed and admitting that there's a path towards joy that comes through self-service and self-sacrifice. And I like that.
The biography of Jesus is anything but unique. In fact, it's stolen. The number of gods who came before him who were born on December 25th, really, had disciples, were crucified or something on a tree, and then came back to life.
Even Genesis, like even the very first story in Genesis, the second line, talking about the Spirit hovered over the water, this chaos waters, that myth was absconded from early Eastern.
The flood.
So, but the thing that makes it different is there's a twist on every one of them that orients us towards, I think, a seed of truth that is worth inspecting and holding on to. That for example, the real twist in the first myth, in the creation myth in Genesis, is quite simply that those chaos waters that everybody knew, and the serpent being, the snaky monster being the mythological villain, was well known to people at that time, but never had there been an acknowledgement that it was God who created that thing and that he thought that thing was good, and that we're to coexist with this world where things like monsters exist and humans exist. And there's a way to do that in a way that still breeds peace. That had never been done before.
Well, I was going to say, the biography of Jesus, not original, but the message was revolutionary. The message,
right.
Nobody had really ever been down the meek shall inherit the earth road. There were so many at the time that Jesus was around. If he lived, that is still an open question. He could not have been actually a historical figure, but probably was. But at the time, the Greek-Roman mythology was waning, so there were a lot of other competing religions.
The reason Bill Maher disliked Christianity is because Jesus' word convict Bill Maher in his lifestyle. He knows if he acknowledges the truth of Christianity, he has to change his life. Bill does not want to do that. He wants to be the God of his own life. It is not an intellectual problem. It is a heart issue. He chose to harden his heart and ignore the evidence of Jesus' death and resurrection. That's why. And this is the video for you guys. If it is your first time in this channel, please consider liking and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next video. Take care.